the outreaches are expanding. There's so much demand for Derek's teaching around the world, and our desire is to fulfill the teaching of reaching the unreached and teaching the untaught.
Derek Prince Ministries. Our mission is to make Derek's teaching available to spiritually hungry Christians through books, digital media, and websites in over 100 languages, especially in countries where there is persecution and poverty.
Well, I'm Alex Genovese. I'm the director of Derek Prince Ministries in Australia. It was 1981 when I got to know the Lord, and I was in the early 40s then. A friend of mine introduced me to Derek Prince teaching. I never heard of Derek Prince. Still vividly remember hiring a public school with 1,000 people there, and Derek came to preach and teach at that conference. And one of the things at that time that Derek was, the Lord was using him in was in the healing of stretching out of legs, one leg to another. And here I was on the platform watching Derek inviting people to come who've got one leg shorter than another, and to my amazement, they come up, he sat them down, he lifted his legs up, he says, "Oh yes, your leg, one leg is shorter than another," and to my amazement I seen the shorter leg growing to equal the other leg. I thought to myself, that was just amazing miracles that God was working through him. Derek was started sharing on demon deliverance and demonology, and within about 15 minutes of him going into teaching, all sorts of things was happening. Seeing the power of God in healing and also in deliverance, which really impacted me. Soon after that, we're asked to form Derek Prince Ministry Australia. I served as a volunteer for 5 or 6 years. In 1998, I felt the Lord strongly leading me to leave the banking industry and go and work full-time or part-time actually at the time, for Derek Prince Ministry. And that's when I took the faith step of moving out from the banking industry to join and work full-time for Derek Prince Ministry as an Australian director. Our ministry is to reach the unreached and teach the untaught in various parts of the world, and also especially countries where there's persecution or where people are spiritually hungry. And I felt that's a calling that fits in with the gospel of helping and reaching out with the message of the gospel. And in Australia, we started reaching out to the Indigenous communities with some of the material, simple teaching material that they have, like the Divine Exchange and God's Remedy for Rejection and the Self-Study Bible courses, which make that people extravagant love. People like books like that, which were easy for the Indigenous people to receive, and it was very helpful because they have suffered a number of things from rejections and lack of love. At the same time, we started to reach out to some in the prison ministries, and also then the Lord led us in the area of Australia to reach out in Papua New Guinea to really help out and raise funds for the worldwide outreaches. Amazing nations like India and China and the Middle East and Russia. There was so much need and demand for Derek's material. We really thank God that people came on board, and wonderful supporters of the ministry who came on board responded to the appeals that we were raising at the time, and we were able to distribute the funds, seed into these ministries. In Australia, I have to say, is one of the offices that raise significant money and distribute significant money so that this outreach work can be carried out in these nations. And even though that Derek is with the Lord, his teaching resources are ageless. I remember getting a phone call from a person driving a car, and he came in to say that he was listening to a teaching by Derek Prince. He was saying, "No, I've never heard anyone explain a teaching like this." And that sort of, convicted me that even though Derek might have gave that teaching so many years ago, here is a person in Australia driving a car, listening to Derek's teaching and being impacted by it. So the wonderful thing about Derek Prince's teaching is that it's ageless and it continues, and that's what we're looking forward to. The outreaches are expanding. There is so much demand for Derek's teaching around the world, and our desire is to fulfill the teaching of reaching the unreached and teaching the untaught. Derek made a statement that also impacted me in 2002. He said that his desire, and he believed that it's God's desire as well, that the teaching that God started through me, the ministry that God started through me, will continue until Jesus returns. And here we are 16, 17 years later. The teaching continues, it's expanding all over the world. So it's again another way of acknowledging and thanking the people who over the years and currently are supporting the ministry of Derek Prince, reaching the unreached and teaching the untaught. With your help and with God's help, we're able to touch thousands and millions of people around the world over the years with Derek's Bible teaching.
Through our outreach initiatives, supported by individuals like you and churches like yours, we are combating spiritual hunger around the world by providing discipleship resources for believers, pastors, and Bible college students who are seeking to gain better understanding of God's Word and grow spiritually.